Let's talk. So a number of months ago, I did a series of videos about the Ansteuern Awards and the awards of the Principality of Vindheim. And even as I did the video about Vindheim's awards, I knew, and I said in the video, that these were developing, that very likely we would see change, very likely we would see new awards as the award system matured. When I did that awards video, I mean, the Principality was less than a year old. I can't remember if we had our second coronets or not. I mean, that's how new into the process we were. So we have more awards. We have some of the original awards have matured and have changed their definition. So I wanted to revisit this topic and create a second video for a couple of reasons, but the two most important ones are as we move forward as a principality and we help define our culture, part of that is going to be recognizing and frankly understanding what these awards are for, so that we understand what these awards mean when our friends and family get them. But also, a much more pragmatic side, the prince and princess need award recommendations just like our landed nobility and our royalty do, and the kingdom royalty do. When the crown goes to give out awards, that is almost always because there have been award recommendations for an individual who has met the criteria for a certain award. And it's the same thing with the prince and princess. So we need to raise education so people understand what these awards are, especially our newer members who are just coming in. And it's bad enough that all of the veteran players are still learning this, but if you turn to me and say, what is a thistle? I've been in an Ansteuer for 25 years. I know what a thistle is. But if you turn around and say, hey, what is a brazier of Vindheim? I'll be honest with you, I had to look that up the first time I heard it. So without further ado, I'm going to go over the awards as they're documented on the Principality website, which of course there will be a link in the show notes if you want to see the same text. So the first award we're going to talk about briefly is the Sanguine Bowl of Vindheim. Now you might remember we talked about the Crimson Bowl of Vindheim. This is a friendship award given to an individual who lives outside of Vindheim, and they are recognized for supporting Vindheim with their efforts, with their attitude, with their spirit. It is given to people whose efforts to uphold, support, and lift up the Principality are equal or better than the average of those who live here, but they don't. Now the benefits of the award is if there is a polling or any sort of major activity within the Principality, they are to be treated as if they are a resident of Vindheim, with the exception of this award does not trump the legal requirements of a coronet tournament. In order to enter a coronet tournament, you must actually reside within the zip codes of Vindheim, and that's Principality law. But the Sanguine Bowl, of course, the Crimson Bowl was renamed into the Sanguine Bowl. Crimson didn't go over well with the College of Heralds as a name for an award. But the Sanguine Bowl is the evolution of the Crimson Bowl. It's the same idea of you are such an amazing supporter of the Principality that we want to count you among our number. It may only be given out twice per reign, I believe the original intent on that was to allow for couples, married couples, to be given the award together. But this is only our third reign, so the true scope and ultimate use of that dynamic is yet really to be established. So moving on, the Golden Comb of Vindheim. Now this we talked about in the last video, and at its core it really hasn't changed. The Golden Comb is an order. It's a youth order, but it's a youth order you never age out of. You have to be a child to get into the Golden Comb, but you never age out of it. So the intent, as per Her Excellency Deanna, was to create an award, or create an order rather, where in the future, in the years to come, as new youth are brought into the order, they will be welcomed into an active order that includes adults, and those adults will hopefully someday include grants and peers to the realm, and possibly nobles, possibly past royals, or maybe even a current royal. But it's to give that continuity, because the Golden Comb, of course, is reference to a honeycomb. And one of the things Deanna pointed out was the knowledge that when bees make a honeycomb, they don't actually live long enough to eat the honey that that comb will hold. All of their efforts are being done for the benefit of one or maybe even two generations forward, which means what they are living off of, what they are working with in their lifespan, is the product of one or two generations before them. And that idea of interconnection between generations, of one generation supporting the next, is what she wanted to tap into. I find the metaphor frankly beautiful and a wonderful tool. And that was the intent behind the Golden Comb. The Golden Combs, like I said, are an order for the youth. Now, the one thing that has changed that I think is really awesome is the Golden Combs are also now given these messenger bags. And they may be asked by the Prince and Princess, and only the Prince and Princess, or territorial royalty if you want to use a more broad term for them. But they may be asked to deliver messages on the territorial royalty's behalf. So it gives them a function. And so far at several events I've been to, you've seen them running around handing over these little cards that have messages for individuals. So it's a really cool idea, and I think in terms of including the youth and giving them connection to the Principality, it's a wonderful idea. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I want to see where the Golden Combs grow into as their founding members grow older and mature within the society. So, moving on. Now, these next three awards they're unique, but they all tap into the same theme. When Ansteora established its award system, that became pretty much the template that everyone has grown up under. I've been in Ansteoran for 25, 26 years now. One of the things that the founding royalty of Vindheim said during their reign, Romanus and Deanna, was that they didn't want to simply take the concepts of the Ansteoran Awards and rebrand them for Vindheim. They wanted a unique approach to recognition. And these next three awards actually do that by reevaluating how we recognize the martial arts, the service, and the arts and sciences tracks that we classically break down. The classic grouping for people's efforts, we either say that they are service minded, or they are arts and sciences minded, or they are fighting or martial minded. And with that in mind, these awards work with the idea of using your talent in your track to help others. That is the recognition. It's not just recognizing you for being good at what you do. We have an award for that. It is recognizing using that talent to help others. So the first of these three awards is the Fountain of Vindheim. Now, this was originally the Silver Fountain, but the Fountain of Vindheim is for people who use their artistic skills to help others in a non-artistic setting. Now, I happen to be a holder of I was originally given a note for the Silver Fountain of Vindheim, but that has carried over, and I'm now considered a Fountain of Vindheim. And I was recognized for using my art of voice heraldry, the skill that I have in voice projection and enunciation and flowery speech, to help events function, help keep things going. And that's one example I give, because obviously I'm familiar with it, of how the fountain works. So it's the idea of art or artistic skill in service to others. Now, the next one is the brazier of Vindheim. Brazier, of course, referring to charcoal brazier. Now, the brazier is the same concept, but for martial skill. It is using your skill in chivalric combat, or rapier combat, or steel combat, or archery, or thrown weapons, or siege, or whatever. It is using those skills to help others. Now, whether that is representing someone on the field, or whether that is using your skills to teach others who are interested in it, or however you want to approach it, obviously the interpretation is up to the coronets when they give them out. But it's that recognition of, okay, it's good, and it's okay to be good at what you're doing. We have an award for that already. But this award recognizes using that skill to improve others' day or game or SCA experience. Now, the last award that we want to talk about is the Pillar of Vindheim. And the Pillar of Vindheim, again, using your skills to help others. And it has the longest description of these three awards, but it is, again, the idea of service, of organization, of leadership, of service, but specifically recognizing helping others in the arts and sciences of the martials track. And I know that sounds a little bit redundant, because service, by definition, you're helping someone else with service. But this, if you want to go and look at the text on the award, again, link in the description if you want to see the award text specifically. It'll give you a more detailed idea of what this award is meant to recognize. But together they form this triad where they recognize, again, not the specific prowess you have or specific skill you have in your field. We already have an award for that, and I want to keep saying that because it's important. But in Vindheim, we want to emphasize building the community of Vindheim, building the culture of the principality, and that comes by building the interconnections. And these awards encourage that. Now, here's another one. This is an award that has changed rather radically. When I first talked to you about this, there was the Crimson Thunderbolt. And this was a fighting award for an individual act of astonishing prowess or skill in the martial field. Now, full disclosure, this story I'm about to tell you revolves around my wife, who was the first person to receive a Thunderbolt under this new definition. Now, the Thunderbolt, first of all, it did switch from Crimson Thunderbolt to Thunderbolt of Vindheim. And the Thunderbolt of Vindheim is now given out for people who have performed some astonishing act, martial or otherwise, whose impact lands like a thunderbolt, whether that is metaphorical, possibly physical thunderbolt if you're fighting. Now, I was fortunate enough to be in court because I escorted my wife up to the front when she was called up, but Lilith was called up and given a thunderbolt for a rather astonishing achievement. Just before that event, the Principality had received word that a number of award scrolls, which were supposed to be up there to be given out by the Crown, could not make it. They reasons aside, I don't even know the actual details, but the awards weren't going to make it, and there were 7 awards. So the Crown needed 7 scrolls. Now, the fallback plan was to just write very quick promissory notes. We get the scrolls to the recipients later. But the Principality Herald reached out to my wife, and she said she could do it. And in 23 hours' time, she painted 7 award scrolls in time to be delivered to the event. I was there when she got the award. I was there when she got the details. I watched her do her initial panic, as any of us would do in that circumstance, and I watched her clear off the kitchen table and grab her board and start painting. And in less than 1 day, I believe it was, might have been a day and a half, but I do think it was less than 24 hours, she had painted 7 complete award scrolls, and these were not slipshod work. I will say this right now. I watched her paint them. They were gorgeous. And they were every bit as good as any of her other work that she does. But Prince Jean-Paul and Princess Gillian called her into court, and they found that story, that accomplishment, such an amazing act that they gave her a Thunderbolt of Vindheim in recognition for that astonishing service. And I'm not saying that to trump her up. My wife's reputation is perfectly capable of standing on its own, I assure you. But I want to give that example of that astonishing Thunderbolts level accomplishment, both on or off the fighting field. Now, the last three that we're going to talk about, but these are Army awards, a military-themed award built around the company name. And these are the Company of the Sanguine Horse of Vindheim, the Company of the Sinople Horse of Vindheim, and the Company of the Tenny Horse of Vindheim. And if I am butchering any of those pronunciations, you are encouraged to appropriately mock me in the comments. Now, the Sanguine Horse is an Army award for armored combat, rapier combat, steel combat, combat archery, target archery, siege, thrown weapons, youth rapier combat, youth armored combat, and equestrian deeds of arms. Okay, that's a laundry list. What does that mean? It is recognition for prowess in the fighting arts. It's fairly straightforward. You may receive the award of the Company of the Sanguine Horse multiple times, but all of the awards add up to you are still a member of the company. It is the idea of an army. It is the idea of part of a community. That is certainly the invocation here with the text of this award. The award of the Sinople Horse, the company, or the award of the Company of the Sinople Horse of Vindheim. Again, is an Army award, is the idea of a community built around a military theme with a company, of services in fiber arts, culinary arts, performing arts, household arts, metallurgy, metalworking, research, tangible heraldry, husbandry, and so forth. Again, the idea, I think the modern term I've really come to use with the arts and sciences is the makerspace. It is, if you make a thing, produce a thing, it's very likely to wind up in that. And again, it's the idea of a group of people with a shared level of skill and dedication towards a chosen art. And the last is the Tenny Horse of Vindheim. And this is an award for service. It talks about, I do want to highlight a couple of these concepts. It talks about group management, event administration, infrastructure, general assistance, and event operations. Which is a very interesting breakdown because I don't want to get too deep into the conversation of what all those mean, but I will tell you that in my mundane life, I was the director of security and safety for a convention for 9 out of 10 years. And those are a lot of terms that we hear in the convention circuit about organization, operations, logistics, general service. The concepts, the people that tend to work under those titles are people who work their tails off. So very much that the Company of the Tenny Horse, or T-E-N-N-E, I'm hoping that's Tenny, or Tenny, to be honest with you. The idea of that company is a company of people who very much are service-oriented. Now, last but not least, and I didn't see it written on the page, interestingly enough, but there's absolutely no reason to believe they've done away with this award. I'm certain they haven't, is the Bastion of Vindheim. Now, this is a award that can only be once per reign to an individual. And the idea of the Bastion, as it was described by its founders, was to create a reserve of people, a pool of people, who the rulers and leaders of the principality could turn to for experience and guidance. The idea being people who want the principality to succeed, who want the group to grow and mature, and who have the knowledge and experience to help advise those rulers and leaders towards that end. Now, obviously, we're on our third reign, and I don't believe the current P&P have named their bastion yet, so there are only 2 bastions right now. But arguably a very prestigious award, but again, a non-armigerous one. And it was declared to the Anstjorn Lion. If you want to talk about the lion, you can go to my video about the non-armigerous awards and look at that. When Romanius established the bastion, he very much said that this is similar to the Anstjorn Lion in its framework. So that's what we have. Those are the awards as they stand at the moment. Now, what does that mean for you? Number one, I want you to have a basic idea of what these awards are, because you will probably meet people who have received these awards. You'll see court reports online talking about some of your friends may have received these awards, and I want you to better understand what those awards mean so they're not just a collection of words on the screen that have no implication. I also want you to understand what these awards mean because we need award recommendations. It is the duty of any resident of Vindheim to help in the process of recognizing and inspiring others. And you do that by turning in award recommendations, letting people know, letting the prince and princess know, letting your landed nobles know that these people are doing amazing things, whether it's on the martial track or the arts and sciences track or the service track or any of the other subcategories you want to delineate. Our leaders can't know all the stories. They can't know all the amazing people that we see on a day-to-day basis, and award recommendations are one of the ways we can rectify that. And last but not least, is this a finished story? Is this where the awards are going to sit long term? I really don't think so. Just within a year's time, we've seen the changes that we've already talked about. Now, do I expect more changes? Do I expect a lot more changes in the next year? No, I think it will be slower going forward, but the first years of any group, whether it's a local group or a kingdom or a principality, the first years are formative. That's where ideas meet reality and you get to move things around and shift around and get a feel for how you want this to work. How does your culture really look in practice? So I do think we will see the definitions of some of these awards shift further. I do think we will see possibly the name shift. We're hopefully going to see insignia come out. As of right now, there are no insignia for these that I'm aware of anyway. But hopefully we will see insignia come out in the foreseeable future. And as we move forward, we probably will see some more awards as the principality decides what it wants to move on to next in recognition and inspiration. It's a ever-evolving story, and I look forward to the next chapter in it. But until then, I'll see you at the next event. Goodbye and God bless.